Hi guys.
The following students to please report to the library.
Shut that off. Here we go. So today is EOC review day 2, and I am just going to go ahead and use these values and go over each one of these. So finding the greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor, you're just looking for what goes into both of these values. I don't see anything that goes into 15 that also goes into 8 other than 1. So that is nothing we need to worry about. So let's look at our variables. How about our variables? What is the greatest common factor? And hopefully you see that it is into the third power. Into the third power goes into both of those. Okay. Having said that, we can now factor. So here is kind of the same idea. We're finding the GCF. So my greatest common factor between 15 and -9 is 3. And then look at your variables. What's the common? And I would say 3m. So I'm going to take each of these and divide by 3m. When I do so, he goes on the outside of my parentheses, and then I'm left with a 5m minus 3. And this would be my final answer. And you can double check your work by redistributing that. Next, factoring a polynomial. So when you have a polynomial that looks like this and they say please factor, make sure it is in this format. If not, make it look like this. So if it equals 0, you can ignore that 0. If there's something on this other side, make sure it all comes back over here. So this is where we multiplied this to get -16y squared. Then we looked at our factors of -16y squared that equal -6y. Okay, so the factors are 1 times 16, 2 times 8. 3 doesn't go in, but 4 times 4 does. Well, if I'm trying to get to 6, I bet 2 and 8 can get us there. So both of these are y's. I forget my little y's. One of them would have to be negative. This would have to be a +2 and a -8. So hard to remember, but this needs to be almost secondhand. We need to bring down this y squared plus my 2y minus my 8y, and then bring down that -16. At this point, we do what we called was grouping. So we group them. And then we try to find our GCF here. Our GCF here is just y. They both have a y. So I'm going to take him out, and I'm left with y plus 2. Over here, it looks like a -8 would be in common. So I'm going to take out that -8, and I'm left with y plus 2. So these two things are the same. So that's also in common. So we're going to take that out. So y plus 2 out. And what's left once we take that out? Y minus 8. And that is my final answer for number 3. Number 4 is very similar, but the numbers are bigger. So let's start here somewhere. Where am I going to start? I'll try to put it in here. So 7y squared minus 13y minus 2. Multiply those to get a -14y squared. And it needs to equal a -13y when you add them. So the factors would be 1 times 14, 2 times 7. So it didn't even have very many factors. I can get to a -13 by making them a +1y and a -14y. So added together, I get here. When multiplied, I get that. Bring down my 7y squared plus 1y minus 14y minus that 2. I'm going to group that and then group that. What do they have in common? They have a y in common. So I'm going to take out that y, and I'm left with 7y plus 1. And over here, I'm going to take out a -2. Oops. I squeezed him in. What on earth did I do? So I'm going to take out that -2, and I'm left with 7y plus 1 again. This is what they have in common. So that's 7y plus 1. Once I get rid of those, because I took it out, what do I have left over? Y minus 2. This guy and this guy. And this is my final answer. I have one more of those. These are important. So I'm going to multiply. I'm going to rewrite it. Need you guys to be very comfortable with that. So that's 81w squared. So the factors of 81w squared, that's going to equal a negative 18w. Okay, so we say 1 times 81. 2 go in 81. Does 3? 3 does. So this is when we use our calculator to go through those. 81 divided by 3 is 3 times 27. I'm just looking at these until I get to the 18. Does 4 go into 81? Nope. 5, we know that doesn't. How about 6? 81 divided by 6? Nope. 81 divided by 7? Nope. 81 divided by 8? Nope. But we do have 9 times 9, so that's it. Oh, these two together can equal negative 18 if they're both negative. So negative times negative gives us this positive. Negative plus negative gives us negative 18. So now we bring down that W2 minus 9W minus 9W plus 81. Now we group. I love this method because it works regardless. What do they have in common? They have a W in common. Take out that W, and I'm left with W minus 9. Here I have a negative 9 in common. I keep doing that. So negative 9. So what's left over? W minus 9. So my answer is W minus 9 and W minus 9. Right? W minus 9, W minus 9. What's left over? And another way you could write that would be W minus 9 squared. Now, is there an easier way to do that? If this is a perfect square, well, I'm not even going to go there. This way will work every single time. Every single time. I love it. Okay, so if you have a question that looks like this, you're going to take the square root of that and the square root of that. And you're going to end up with x, what's the square root of that, plus 5x minus 5. The reason why it's a plus and a minus, because the square root of 25 can be a positive or a negative. So I could say 5 squared or negative 5 squared and still get 25. So that's why that works. Okay. Also, when I multiply this times this, you actually get the negative 25. All right. Next. All right. So when you're dividing these polynomials, I always separate it. So I'm going to make 8y to the 7 minus 36y to the 4th. And I'm going to divide this by 4y to the 3rd and this y to the 3rd. Okay, solve this. 8 divided by 4 is 2. y7 divided by y3, we subtract those y's, so we get y to the 4th. 36 divided by 4 is 9. y4 minus y3 is just y. And that is your final answer. All right, so this really shouldn't take too long, except those factoring might take you a little bit.